As you can see here, I've got the Terminator series. I've never done this before, so I thought I might film it as best as I could. Um, this is going to be about assembling number 26 through through 30, and replacing the finger joint pins on the now I guess you could say upgraded fingers. Um, okay, let's get on with it. First thing is going to be to disassemble uh, the finger joints. So I'll be back when that's done. A really important part to remember is to make sure that you keep track of the thumb and the two index fingers, where they came from and their component parts. Um, Otherwise, you can quite easily, if you took them all apart at once, you could quite easily mess up the order of the fingers, or put one finger together wrong. Since there's going to be quite a few components that we're pulling apart, and so yeah, I'll get back to you when I've disassembled the thumb first. Okay, you can see the thumb, how I've disassembled and kept it aligned. Um, this here is the package of components that they sent me as the replacements. This, you are going to need some super glue, and this right here is the instructions for the replacements. You can probably take a screenshot of that. So yeah, it's a pretty simple procedure. I just flex the joints a little bit backwards and forwards while pulling them apart gently, and yeah, then it allows you to get a little movement in there, and then you can put your thumb under the edge of one of the pieces of one of these little buttons, and you can just pry it off with your fingers or your fingernails. It's unfortunately, I don't have a tripod here, so I can't really show it to you. I'll just have to try and describe it. But you will need super glue when putting these in place. All right, I'll be back to you in the next step. Something else of note is that in the package of the replacement upgraded parts, there are different sizes. So you have to be very careful of the different sizes that you're replacing. And you have to match them up to the components in the bags. Otherwise, what you'll do is you'll have fingers that won't quite match, or don't go together properly. So when you take out a finger joint, you have to definitely match it up with its counterpart in the length of the pins. As you can see here, I've now opened up the largest package of components, and I'm going to assemble them. I'm going to put the sleeve onto the shafts. I'll be back. You can now see that I have assembled the plastic sleeves onto the pins. I have now replaced the first knuckle pin, and it is quite fiddly, and you have to press quite hard to get them to enter properly and squish all the way down. This is the package of replacement caps that will then go be glued in place. I'm not going to apply these until I've got everything, all the pins installed. Fortunately, because they won't come apart now. They're quite stiff, and uh, which is of course what we wanted and needed. I'll be back. Okay, I'm running into a little bit of confusion here. They say that in the instructions that they have sent two large connectors and one medium connector. I'm finding that the length of the first thumb connector is a medium connector, and there's only one medium connector in the packages. These are two large ones, so I don't know if that's a mistake on their part or the instructions are wrong. However, this is why I'm only taking out the components as I'm using them to replace them, to make sure that, you know, they get exactly back where they're supposed to be. And since this one matches up with this single component, I'm going to replace that first. That's for the thumb. Um, well, I'll get back to you as soon as I've done that. The distance and the difference between the mediums and the long one is only about 1 millimeter, maybe even less. It's very small. If you put them side by side and just look at them, it's enough that you can completely miss it. However, if you compare the lengths really quite precisely, putting like to like right up next to each other, you can see that there's a minute difference. So this is something to really keep in mind, because it makes a difference when you go to put your cap pieces on and glue them in place, whether it fits properly or it doesn't. Okay, I have the first index finger now pulled apart, and the thumb has been, as you can see, assembled, um, and all the pins ready to go in place. I have checked the pin, the connecting pin here, and it is a medium pin, and it does fit one of these pins here, so we will see how it goes. I'll be back when I get these all inserted into their new places. An important note that the holes taper on one of these pieces. This piece here, it happened to be, this middle piece seems to have tapered holes, so you have to go with the pin through the tapered hole first. Otherwise, when you put it together, it'll still flop around on that one joint. So you have to, it's on this end, on this side of the hole, it is completely tight. However, on this side of the hole, it's very loose. So the pin will go straight in and won't really bind. So the idea is, if you put the pin in from this side, and then you put this piece on to the pin, it'll be nice and tight. One other piece of note is that I had to slip the tube into this hole first, and then I have to push the pin in, and everything then goes together. If you don't do it this way, there's a little lip on the inside of this that was originally designed to capture these pieces and make them tighter. Uh, it's ever so slight. It's probably half of a millimeter, maybe even less. But the lip is there, and it'll stop these from going in if they're already expanded to the full width of this pin. So slide in the plastic tube, then slide the pin in, and then when you put everything together, compress it all together, it'll be in the right position to accept this piece. I have found the same problem with this pin as well. So it's going to have to, as you can see, they're doing alternating pins, one direction, the next direction. All right. As you can see, I've now replaced the long pin in there, and it's the first of the long ones that they gave us, and it looks like it's going to fit properly. And again, I had to do because if you go in from this side, it's very loose, so you have to come in from this side. And of course, because of that lip, you have to do it the same way as I did the rest of these, where you insert the plastic piece with just a little bit of it sitting out, and then you can slide the pin through it all and tighten it up. If you try to put in the plastic piece level and then put in the pin, it will not go. So you have to leave a little bit of this plastic sleeve on the opposite side here exposed, so that the pin can go into it. And then what happens is, as you press the pin in, the plastic compresses and goes in as well, and it all slides together. Little fiddly, but it is quite doable, and quite the nice upgrade. Okay, I now have the 3 fingers completed. It's now going to be a point of gluing in place these caps, and then placing them on the hand. I'll be back to you when I've completed that. All right. I now have the hand reassembled, and everything is a lot tighter. As you can see, it's all able to hold its own position. Yeah. So, yeah, I'm quite happy with that. I don't know if I will, but I've thought of some modifications I can make to make it have a little more movement, a little more natural. It might allow to hold the pistol better, but we'll save that for a later video. Well, that looks like the complete right arm. We only need the pin for the shoulder, and then of course it'll be ready to go on the body whenever the body is ready. That is pretty damn cool. I have to tell you, I grew up during the 80s, and I absolutely always loved the Terminator design. Not necessarily the story, but yeah, the I just thought it was the coolest robot I'd ever seen, and I got to tell you, I absolutely love this robot. So when I saw them come out with it, I had to get it.